Hello besties, welcome to Folktales by IJ. Today's story unfolds in the vibrant heart of campus life where dreams and ambitions collided. This is the story of Ada. Ada sat nervously in her dormitory room. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the pages of her textbooks. Still, her mind wandered, lost in the thought of how she would pay her school fees as her exams were fast approaching. Her group of girlfriends often gathered in their common room, a cozy space filled with laughter and camaraderie. But today, the atmosphere felt different, charged with a mix of excitement and mischief. Amaka, the most outspoken of the group, leaned closer to us, her eyes glinting with mischief. Ada, she said, her voice laced with teasing. You are always so serious, you know. If you're so desperate for money like this, you could always charm that our mean lecturer Durojaye that is always so full of himself. He's lonely and you'd never have to worry about school fees again. Ada's heart raced at the mention of Durojaye. Horrified, she shook her head vehemently. I can't marry someone I don't love. Besides, that man is so mean, especially him. He's cruel and I don't even like him. The thought of using someone like that repulsed her. Oh, come on, Amaka laughed, clearly enjoying the banter. Relax, it's just a day. But this day comes with a heavy price. You need money, Abi? We'll give you 2 million naira. We'll raise it together. If you can get him to propose, you can dump him later after you win the money. The other girls joined in, their laughter ringing in the ears of Ada. They cheered, urging her on, filling the room with an air of excitement. But inside, Ada felt a tightening knot of dread. She valued love and sincerity, and this felt like a betrayal of her principles. Think about it, Ada. You wouldn't have to struggle for money anymore. Amaka persisted, her voice growing softer but more persuasive. At first, Ada flatly refused, shaking her head vigorously. She had always held on to her ideals about love and relationships, believing that it should be built on honesty and respect. But as the days wore on, the reality of her financial situation loomed larger. With her school fees due soon and her parents unable to help, the pressure mounted. The idea of dropping out of school was so real. The idea of dropping out greatly terrified her. Days turned into nights as she grappled with her conscience. The constant buzz from her friends felt more like a burden than encouragement. Finally, she found herself alone in her room, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Could I really do it? She wondered. Feeling the weight of desperation pressing down on her chest, her phone buzzed. It was a text message from her mother, informing her of her father's deteriorating condition. This shattered her thoughts. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Amaka sending her a message. Think about the money, Ada. You won't be a poor student anymore. You won't be begging us for money again. Imagine what you could do with that 2 million naira. Tears welled up in Ada's eyes. She had always wanted to finish her degree and make her parents proud. With a heavy heart, she made the decision to give in to the dare. Just this once, she whispered to herself. After all, it's just a game, a means to an end. Taking a deep breath, she resolved to try. The next day, Ada knocked softly on the door to lecturer Durojaye's office. Her heart racing. She could hear the faint sound of papers rustling inside. When he opened the door, his sharp gaze narrowed in confusion at her presence. Can I help you, Miss Ada? He asked, his tone icy. I just wanted to discuss my paper, Ada stammered, feeling a surge of anxiety. She wasn't there to discuss her paper, but this was the only way to get close to him. Over the next few weeks, she visited his office more frequently, asking questions, complimenting his intellect, and trying to be as charming as she could muster. At first, Durojaye was distant and cold, hardly engaging with her. But slowly, as she persisted, he began to soften, intrigued by her sudden interest in his lectures and insights. One day, to her surprise, he invited her for coffee after class. Ada felt a mix of dread and anticipation, forcing a smile as she accepted, all the while feeling disgusted with herself for her motivations. Sitting across from him at the coffee shop, Durojaye opened up about his life. He shared stories that peeled back the layers of his stern exterior, revealing a man with vulnerabilities and fears. He wasn't just the mean, strict, annoying lecturer everyone hated and feared. He had his own share of troubles, an estranged family, a failed marriage, and an isolated life. You know, Ada, it's been a long time since I've had someone I could talk to, he admitted, his eyes reflecting a sadness that tugged at the heartstrings. I'm glad I could be here for you, she replied, trying to sound sincere, though guilt gnawed at her insides. The emotions she hadn't expected to develop for him began to surface. Ada found herself feeling pity for him, even as she was betraying him. As the weeks passed, their coffee meetings became more frequent, and Durojaye's walls began to crumble. He laughed more, he smiled more, and even began to open up about his dreams and regrets. Ada's feeling for him became more complicated, leaving her torn between her growing affection and the weight of her deception. But the dare still loomed over her like a storm cloud. The thought of her friends celebrating her victory was bittersweet, a reminder of how far she had strayed from her values. One evening, as they sat together in his office, Durojaye leaned in and said, Ada, you've brought joy into my life that I didn't think was ever possible. I'm beginning to care for you deeply. That was the moment everything changed. A chill ran down Ada's spine as the reality of her situation hit her. She had never intended to fall for him, yet here she was, tangled in a web of her own making. Panic surged within her. She couldn't let it go any further. Weeks passed, and Ada found herself living a double life. She was now the charming student who spent time with Durojaye while secretly plotting the next steps of the day. The closer she got to him, the harder it became to deceive him. Her friends had no idea how conflicted she felt, and she felt increasingly isolated as she distanced herself from them. Then, one day, in a quiet moment at his apartment, Durojaye surprised her with a small velvet box. He looked nervous, a rare vulnerability shining through. Ada, he began, his voice trembling slightly. Will you marry me? The air thickened around them. Another felt like her heart dropped. Marry you? She echoed. Disbelief flooded her senses. Yes, Ada, he said, hope flickering in his eyes. I want to build a life with you. I've never felt this way about anyone before. Ada's breath caught in her throat as she stared at the ring. The moment she had been working towards had arrived, yet she felt nothing but shame. She forced a smile and excitement, masking the turmoil raging within. I need time to think, she finally managed to say, her heart heavy with guilt. After that evening, the guilt became unbearable. The weight of her deception grew heavier, crushing her spirit. How could she marry him knowing the truth? The next day, she summoned the courage to meet Durojaye in an empty lecture hall. As soon as he arrived, she burst into tears. I'm so sorry, she cried, collapsing under the weight of her confession. I've deceived you. This was all a dare. My friends dared me to make you fall in love with me for money. I didn't mean to hurt you, but I needed the money. But now, I know what's real anymore. Durojaye's face fell. His expression darkened as he processed her words. He stood silently for a moment, his gaze drifting away. Then, without a word, he walked away, leaving Ada sobbing in the empty hall, her heart shattered. In the days that followed, the campus buzzed with rumors of Durojaye's resignation. He left without a word, without a goodbye, without any explanation. Ada was left to grapple with the consequences of her actions. Her friends celebrated her victory in securing a proposal, completely oblivious to the pain and regret that consumed her. Ada distanced herself from them, feeling too ashamed to continue being part of their group. The thrill of the day felt hollow now. Months passed and she was determined to build her life again, working odd jobs to pay for her school fees. The burdens she carried forced her to grow stronger as she did these odd jobs. She became more independent, and perhaps for the first time, she became truly aware of the value of hard work and integrity. One afternoon, as she walked across campus, she heard someone call her name. She turned and froze. It was Durojaye, but there was something different about him. He looked more confident, standing taller, and radiating an aura she had never seen before. Durojaye, she whispered, disbelief washing over her. Is that really you? Yes, Ada, he replied, his voice calm, yet filled with emotions. I've been gone for a while. I needed time to heal and think. But there's something you should know, he paused, looking at her with a mixture of pain and hope. I didn't tell you the full truth about myself either. Ada felt her heart race. What do you mean? I am a prince, he said softly. Her mouth fell open in shock. A prince? Yes, I wanted to live a simple life, away from my responsibilities. But despite everything that's happened, I still love you, Ada. I understand why you did what you did, and though it hurt me deeply, I believe that you have changed. He stepped closer, pulling out a ring once more. Ada, he said, will you marry me for real this time? Tears streamed down Ada's face with a mix of joy and remorse washing over her. She was shocked. You forgive me? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Love is complicated, he replied, his eyes filled with understanding. We both make mistakes, but we can learn from each other. Overwhelmed, Ada was shocked. She took a deep breath. Yes, 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 I will marry you. They ended up marrying in a very beautiful royal wedding, a celebration of love, redemption, and second chances. Ada looked so radiant in her traditional wedding gown, standing beside Prince Durojaye. Her heart was full of gratitude. Her former friends were in shock and awe, unable to believe the turn of events. As they walked down the aisle, Ada reflects on the journey that brought them together. She has been given a second chance, not just at love, but at life. This lesson she learned so much resonates deeply within her, that shortcuts in life come with hidden cuts, but redemption is possible when we face the truth and choose integrity. It was such a beautiful wedding. Thank you so much for listening. Have you subscribed to Folktales by IJ? Please, please, I urge you to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more beautiful stories. Bye.